have a proverb in Creole, Timoun c'est richesse. Children are our wealth. However, we can't access or nurture or even treasure those beautiful resources that are in our children unless we provide them with certainly food, healthcare, but education. And education is what will take us from the present to the future. And this is why I support Anseye Pou Ayiti and the work that they do. Our children need wonderful teachers, and not just in the classroom, but in the broader community. And they too will become the teachers we need. And not just teaching reading and writing, but teaching duty, teaching community, teaching, I dare say it, even love. So our children are indeed our wealth, but we also have to invest whatever we have in them. And that's what Anseye Pou Ayiti and their teachers and community leaders are also doing. Education equity is very important because we have a very young population in Haiti where half the population is under 25 years old. And we have a situation where a whole generation is really losing out on consistent education due to violence, lack of resources. So education equity is what will get us an equitable society. Otherwise, we'll have this cycle of the same people, a handful of people who have resources, who have access to education, always at the top, and the majority of the people who are majority young will always be left behind. And we want to, if we're building a society, the kind of society that our ancestors envisioned, we can't keep leaving the majority of the population behind. We're watching a crisis in Haiti now where obligation to community in the big cities, right, or primarily in Port-au-Prince, is nearly absent. People are being driven out of their communities and have to, many of them, leave the country or return to places in the countryside that are often neglected. And so I think, without romanticizing, there is a model in rural communities where people think communally, where people work communally, where family ties are broader than nuclear, like, smaller family groupings. So I think civic leadership, a new generation of civic leadership that takes like the whole community in consideration, that believes that our fates are tied, not that, you have people in the diaspora, I don't, you can go to Miami, I can't, this kind of civic leadership that feels like lifts all boats, if you will, right? That thinks about like our destinies are connected. That would be wonderful, whether it's pulling from work that is already being done around the country with, with different leaders, different civic society groups, right? It's very crucial to teach that to our children, that idea that we're all in this together, right? And even in Haiti, certainly, but in the broader world, in all these justice movements, we see that people succeed when they realize that their fates are tied and that they're bound together. And we already have this in our culture. We have this in the Pombit, we have this in the Lakou, and we have this in the work that you are doing, Anseye Pou Ayiti, not Anseye Pou Moi, or Anseye Pou Famille, but Anseye Pou Ayiti. One of the many aspects of the APA approach that resonates with me is this idea of parents, teachers, and civic leaders working together. so that the child often, in these kind of situations, when they go into the school, the parent surrenders the child to the teacher because the teacher knows best. And then the knowledge that the child acquires in school is sometimes either useless or alienating from the community, right? Like the child stands as a sort of a separate being. That also happens, I think, outside of Haiti in immigrant communities, for example. But so, which is why it resonates so much with me. But I think this idea that parent, teachers, and the community are working together to make sure that the child succeeds is very important in all forms of education, and especially in education in Haiti, where the child feels pride and not shame, and in this environment where you don't feel like you're this kind of creature that needs to be reformed in order to be an educated person, that this education can also be part of your being, part of your citizenship, part of who you are. And I also I really love that one of APA's mottos is celle doit pas manger calalou. First, for the sort of the culinary beauty of that saying, but also, I mean, the truth that it's in there. Like, you can't eat okra with one finger. We can't do anything alone. We need our communities. We all stand on somebody's shoulders, and it's a very important to acknowledge also on both ends of that, like that we stand on the shoulders of others, but that we also need to be the shoulders on, for the next generations to come. I think it's important now more than ever to support grassroots organizations in Haiti, because we're all seeing the news from Haiti and what is happening mostly in Port-au-Prince. What we're seeing gives this impression that it's all quasi brisé, as the older people in my family like to say. But there's also community building. There's so much work that is being done outside of the spotlight, outside of the view of others. And it's very important for those of us who know about this work to support that work, to counterbalance what is happening, because we do have a very big shift. It's happened in my families. It's happened in other families I know, where people who were living in Port-au-Prince are now in the countryside, for example, are now in different communities that now have to strain for resources to find them. So if you are supporting an organization outside of Port-au-Prince or in Port-au-Prince, it's much more, your support is even more needed. So not just for sustenance, but for this new imbalances that are being created, these new groups of children who cannot go to school, the food insecurity, the housing insecurity. So yes, more than ever. And I know it's something that's not talked about often, and that people outside of the community don't know how much every family I know supports another family or several families or several organizations, several neighborhood organizations. So there's a grassroots level of that grassroots support, but it's needed more than ever, because certainly there is a lot more need, but there's also a need for us to contribute to projects for the future, because I often say to people, Haiti, our Haiti chérie, is going to have a future no matter what. But it's the civic leadership, it's the support of the children, it's the support of education, it's of course helping people to stay alive, helping people to stay healthy, but also it's thinking about the future. That's what is going to get us past this moment, right, to the next 10 years, 20 years, 25 years. So supporting our children in whatever ways we can, supporting these grassroots organizations that are working sometimes against all odds, that maybe don't get a lot of attention, but continue the work, quietly, consistently. I think it's very important to find out from your friends, from your families, who do they support, what are they doing, it is indeed more important than ever, more life sustaining, more future sustaining than ever. I consider myself a product of the education system in Haiti. That's where I got my foundation. I did a lot of rote memorization, but I think in being taken to school by my mother when I was 3 years old, and in that, even at that young age, understood the value of education, understood like what my parents saw as a kind of investment in my future that needed to start as soon as possible. And everything wasn't rosy, everything wasn't like sort of progressive. I was hit and like a lot of children early education in Haiti, but that message stayed with me, that education is important. So my dream for an education system in Haiti is an equitable system where, just as our, the visionary ancestors, the one who at post-independence, right, imagine the system of public schools where every child gets an education, every single child. That would be my vision for an education in Haiti. Like every single child gets to go to school, gets to stay in school, gets to study something that they want to study, so that they can then contribute to their families, to the country, to the world, because I always tell people, like, I consider myself an accident of literacy. It's not something that I took for granted, but everything that's happened to me in my whole life has to do with the fact that I learned to read and write one day, and that I was able to go to school. So my vision is that every single child in Haiti would have the same kind of possibilities and opportunities that I had, starting with my education up until the age of 12 in Haiti, and then later on in the United States.